here on this campus, none of this existed back here. There was an old F wing. It was the only wing that had inside lockers, and so the seniors really liked the inside lockers because you didn't get wet. I don't even know if all of you have lockers today. You probably share lockers or something like that. So in any case, we had a lot of portables on this campus, and then back in the 90s, the local community came together and said we need to provide some funding so that we could build all these additional facilities for our high school students and for all the other students at our schools as well. And so what we wanted to do this morning is share just a little information about general obligation bonds, which I understand you've studied a little bit about, and then kind of share a little local story here in Benicia about how general obligation bonds impact our schools here locally. And so we have here in Benicia Measure S, and I'm just kind of curious if anyone has heard about Measure S. Okay, it's relatively new, but it's coming up, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about it. So Measure S is a measure for school facilities for Benicia, for better Benicia schools. And what Measure S is we are asking, the school district has identified needs, facility needs in and throughout all of our schools in Benicia. And we are asking the voters in our community whether or not they'd be willing to provide some additional funds to help pay for the construction of those facilities. So throughout California, local communities are allowed to be asked if they're willing to basically provide some additional funds through their property taxes. So if you own a home in Benicia, or basically it's homes or businesses, some commercial properties, then you would be asked if you're willing to pay a little bit more based on how much property you own to contribute funds to help build these school facilities. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Isom, and he'll share some more information with you and maybe go through the PowerPoint as well.
All right. Hey guys, it's great to be here. So my name is John Isom, and I'm with Isom Advisors. I'm the founder of Isom Advisors, and we're financial advisors to school districts throughout the state of California. And we help school districts like Benicia Unified improve their school facilities. Like he said, the room you're in was built because of a bond, right? So we work with school districts throughout the state of California, helping them pass bonds, helping them sell bonds, and then they're able to get money, millions of dollars, to make needed improvements. Just as far as timing goes, what are we looking at as far as timing?
You have until 2 minutes before the hour.
2 minutes before the hour? Thanks for taking up a lot of time there. Okay, we'll make a stretch. And then just to get my bearings, so what grade are most of you in this class?
We're all seniors.
You're all seniors. Excellent, excellent. Okay, good. Well, first of all, many of you, if you've lived in a home or been in a home, that home was purchased through a loan, right? And I'm sure you learned from your teacher that a bond is a loan. And what are some of the key features in a loan? When you talk about a home loan, what gets paid every month? A mortgage gets paid every month. And the mortgage, let's say it's $2,000. What is that mortgage made up of? Is it all just cash? Is it all principal? Like if I borrowed $200,000 and I need to repay that over 30 years, right, like a home mortgage does, I'm paying back the bank the $200,000 plus what?
Interest.
Plus interest. Okay, so every time I make a $2,000 payment, I'm paying back principal, which is part of the $200,000, and I'm paying back interest, right? So a bond is just like a home mortgage. A bond is also a loan. It's a different type of loan, and this loan is going to be secured by something different than a home mortgage. When we talk about security, one of the things that we think about is, all right, how do I know that I'm going to get my money back? If I'm the bank, you buy a house, I'm loaning you $200,000. How do I know I'm going to get that money back? What's the security on a home mortgage? Anyone? Thoughts? Someone? No? It's the person who's making the money, right? The salary. Someone looks at that person and says, the bank says, all right, this father and mother, this mother, they're making pretty good money. They're making $60,000 a year, $40,000 a year, $100,000 a year. All right, that's the security to repay the loan, okay? So when we talk about bonds, we always talk about the security, like what's the source that we repay the loan. So I'm going to go through this presentation, and part of it is going to be in the context of school bonds specifically, which I think is relevant because of this Measure S. If there's something you need to remember today, it's Measure S. It's on the June ballot. But so a lot of this will be in the context of school districts, and there's some pretty incredible numbers here.
I think what Mr. Isom just said is really important because it kind of helps us understand what is a general obligation bond. And so we're all kind of really familiar with the homes that we live in. And in a perfect world, everybody would set aside all kinds of cash, and we'd go to the home seller and say, here's all this cash, we want to buy this house and move in tomorrow. Not too many people have all of that cash or the ability to have all of that cash ready to make such a huge purchase for a home. And so they go and they knock on the bank's door and say, I really want to buy this house, but I don't have all the cash. You know, will you loan me the money so I can get into that home tomorrow? And they said, okay, but you know, we're not going to do that for free. We have to make money too as a business, and so we're going to charge you interest, and we're going to give you that money ahead of time so you can go in there and buy that home. And so our school district, we're kind of in that same boat. We don't have all this cash set aside to make all of the school improvements that we need today. And so what we want to do is borrow some money so that we can build all of these facilities tomorrow, so to speak. But there is going to be a charge for that, so we'll have to pay some interest so that we can get the cash to build those schools tomorrow.
Good point. So this January, there was a report out by what's called the State Allocation Board, and they determined that there was between $19.8 billion and $31.8 billion in needs just for school districts, in new construction, in modernization, in renovation projects. You can see a number of different things here, but so between 20 and $30 billion is needed to just make sure that our schools are ready for 21st century education. It's a pretty astonishing number when you think about it, right? And in the case of Benicia, Measure S that's on the ballot, the district has a need of about $50 million. Seems like a pretty big number, right? But it doesn't go nearly as far as you would think when you talk about having to take care of a high school, a middle school, multiple elementary schools. So there's a tremendous need for school facilities in California. Just some other interesting statistics. You know, there's 6 million students, just like you, 6 million students in the state of California at 10,000 different schools. So California obviously is just an enormous state with tremendous facilities needs that exist. So keeping on the same vein about school facilities, we get a lot of different pots of money so we can modernize and renovate and upgrade our schools. So one of those sources is state of California. State of California says, all right, I'll put in some money because you might not be able to raise all that money on your own. Okay, so in some communities the state pays a lot of money, in some communities they pay a little bit of money. There's also something called developer fees. Anyone have a guess what a developer fee might be? Startup costs? Yeah, think of a developer. A home builder comes into the community, says I'm going to put in 5,000 homes or 100 homes, and what do those homes produce? People. Who said that? Yeah, people. You guys. Oh, both of you. Okay. But it produces people. It produces you. It produces students. So if I'm a developer and I build 5,000 homes and each home generates 1.25 students, that's 6,250 kids 6,000? Yeah, if I build 5,000 homes. 6,250 kids, that's like 2 or 3 high schools, right? So as a developer, I don't just get to profit and put all that money in my pocket from selling those homes. I have to pay developer fees in order to mitigate all of those students. And then those developer fees go towards helping build new schools or new classrooms. There's something else, we won't go into great detail, but it's another type of bond called a Mello-Roos, or Community Facilities District. And that's a uniquely structured bond where each house pays a fixed dollar amount. So each house pays $600 a year, $1,000 a year. Parcel taxes, anyone have an idea what a parcel is? Who knows what a parcel is? What's a parcel? Well, that's true. Yeah, I was thinking UPS. That's very good. Other ideas, in a land use term, what a parcel is. A parcel is the unique description of each piece of property in a district, in a state, in a city. So each home is on a parcel. Each business has a parcel. It's a unique number that's assigned by the county to the property. So a parcel tax merely says each parcel, so each single home is going to pay the exact same $100 tax or $200 tax or what have you. Grants, who knows what a grant is? Anyone? What's that? Grant's kind of a loan, actually. It's a free, I won't call it a loan, but it's free money. You write a letter, you write a report, you say, hey, I'm needy, I need this. In some ways, it's almost like a scholarship, okay? But you can write to different agencies and they give you grants. And then the biggest source of funding is GEO bonds. We'll talk more about what a GEO bond is.
Can I? I'll let you finish before you go off this slide.
So, just to give again some context about how powerful a tool this bond is, a general obligation bond, over the past 14 or 15 years, $66 billion have been spent on schools through bonds. Developer fees, $10 billion. So all those developers who are building all those homes, they pay all those fees to school districts. $10 billion in developer fees have been going towards school improvements. And then the state has kicked in about $35 billion. So the lion's share of bonds, both GEO and state, is almost 91% of all the school improvements are because of bonds. So bonds are important. Bonds are a big deal. Tim, do you want to say?
Yeah, so Measure S here in Benicia, our local school measure to try to raise $50 million for school facilities. $50 million is a lot of money. I mean, how do we do that? How do we get $50 million to build schools? And so what Mr. Isom's chart here shows is that it's not easy to do, so let's create different ways to collect money, because to try to get $50 million out of one source, it's a lot. And so his slide shows that the state of California, where we are part of, they recognize that. And just like our school district has an operating budget, the state of California has its operating budget too. And just like Mr. Isom said, there's 10,000 schools in California, 6,000 students. The budget for the state of California is about $100 billion. So through their sources, through income taxes and sales taxes and all the other revenue streams that flows up to Sacramento, they've got about $100 billion to spend each year. And part of that they could use to help local communities, towards their school, through their school needs. And so we can get a little piece from the state. Developer fees, for example, when Southampton came and built all the homes in Southampton, we were getting some developer fees, a little bit from each home that was built into a school facility fund. And so over time, that was a way to contribute towards funding for our school facilities. And then the last piece that Benicia has taken advantage of are general obligation bonds, where we asked our local property owners to kick in some as well to contribute towards school facilities. So it's kind of a stool with 3 legs on it: the state, the developers. This one has 4.
This one's got 5.
So the state, the developers, and the local community all kind of pitch in to help provide funds for schools.
Okay, so what is a geo bond? We'll talk a little bit about the different types of bonds, but you had some review, my understanding.